Hello, everybody. My name is Alan, and welcome to Crimicide True Stories, the show where we take the best stories from our true scary stories and tell them to you guys. Now, I apologize for last week not having a real video. A lot was happening. It was hectic, and I just got a tooth pulled, but I'm recovering from that, so I can record again, which is awesome. So, from here on, I'm going to try and not let anything get in my way. We got some awesome stories today from our Let's Not Meet, so let's get into it. This first story is from Reddit user CareBear1345. Longtime lurker of this subreddit, and this is my first time posting anything. I've been wanting to share this story ever since I first started reading everyone's stories, so here it goes. This took place when I was about 16. My aunt was in town visiting, and we were coming back from the grocery store. We were driving back to my mom's house. My parents were divorced, and she lived way out in the country. Like it's a 10-minute drive from anywhere. We pull up our driveway, and a red car pulls in behind us. My aunt and I stay in the car, and the man approaches the driver's side door. I can't really tell you why he looked like a creep, but he looked like a creep. Very pasty skin, eyes that were staring too hard, just overall weird. He claims he is lost and looking for his way to a fitness center in the town next over. The exact fitness center that is about a minute away from the grocery store is, i.e. the opposite direction of where we just came from. Super odd, but I gave him directions. He thanks me, but continues to stare at me. He asks if we know each other, and I reply no. He gives me his name, and I, again, repeat no, I do not. A couple seconds of awkward staring, and he asks what my name is. Well, being an idiot and feeling anxious, I tell him. That was a mistake. He confirms we don't know each other. Oh, really? And heads back to his car, and we watch him leave. My aunt and I agree he was very strange, but shake it off, and take the groceries in. From where we parked, you have to take a little windy path up behind the house to get to the back door. My aunt goes outside to grab the rest of the groceries, and I settle on the couch in the living room and look outside. Red car in the driveway. My aunt comes upstairs and said the guy was almost to our door, and he claimed he forgot the directions. My aunt curtly told him right, left, right, and told him to leave. Directions were truly that simple when following the main roads. I'm freaked. She's freaked, but we never see him again. A month passes, and I'm chilling at my dad's house, and posted something like, "I'm bored at my dad's house, who wants to chill?" on Facebook. Guys, always set your page to private. Several minutes later, I get a message from the same guy asking if I wanted him to come over. I'm home alone and understandably terrified. I immediately block him and tell my dad, who goes to one of his cop friends to see if they know anything about this guy. Well, this man was kicked out of a local university for stalking, and had 2 other counts of stalking on top of that, and a restraining order. Yikes. Another month goes by, and I'm in study hall with a friend, and he is telling me about this guy who was stalking his older sister. I don't remember the specific details, but it was definitely the story of someone being stalked. The craziest part was, this stalker almost drove his girl's brother off the road in an attempt to get him to pull over. Once pulled over, the stalker jumped out and was making his way to my friend's vehicle when my friend noped right out of there. I'm sure you guessed it, but the stalker and the creep I ran into were the same person. So creepy pasty stalker dude, let's not meet. The second story is from a deleted Reddit user. Preamble. I am a late 20s female, and this happened fairly recently. Nothing bad happened to me, and I'm lucky it didn't, but it easily could have. There's a conservation area that I used to like to walk in regularly. It's beside a golf course, near an ordinary subdivision just off a busy road, and is popular with dog walkers and photographers. The conservation area is fairly well maintained, and alerts its users that there are hidden cameras everywhere. My point in bringing attention to all of this is to say that by all accounts, this is a very safe, vanilla, urban, wooded area in a populated area. One big thing about me is that I like isolation to recharge. I dislike crowded trails, and by convention, go in off-peak hours, or when the weather is unpleasant. Not dangerous, but unpleasant. I stay safe, but I like to be there with as few people around as possible. In a city in daylight, I don't feel like I'm taking any risk by doing this. First encounter. There was one day I went at around 4 p.m. or so on a frigid, rainy Monday in November. On days like that, there are maybe only 1 or 2 dog walkers, but today there was no car in the parking lot except for a dirty blue pickup truck with a man sitting in it. I noticed he was looking at me, but that didn't really bother me. I was just happy to see that the trail was empty. On this particular day, I went to the area to practice my navigation skills. I was learning how to use a compass at that time, and it's good to practice that skill in an area that you won't get lost in. So I decided to go off-trail to a big pine plantation, which is a big open area with large mature pine trees, if you're not familiar. It's not a hiking area, or really that interesting in any way, and definitely off trail. You wouldn't get there unless you really wanted to get there. So I pick my first landmark and sight it using the compass, and I'm pacing towards it. I find myself about halfway there when I hear rustling through the bushes, and I turn around to see the man from the dirty pickup truck there, entering the pine plantation. Mid-50s, white man, a little pudgy, wearing a baggy beige cardigan and blue slacks. I feel pretty alert at this point. Feels out of place somehow. I take note, but pretend to keep walking around with my compass because I don't want to seem weird. I look at him. He pretends to ignore me. I'm getting a really bad gut feeling about the situation for some reason at this point, and I feel like he's trying to follow me. But I have an anxiety disorder, so I try not to freak out for zero reason, and I don't want to ruin my relaxing time. It's just a guy walking around, no big deal. To see if he's following me, I pivot 180 degrees and walk directly towards the trail again. He's still following me. I walk through the bushes, onto the trail, still following me. At this point, I was freaking out. The pine plantation entrance is only about 50 feet on the trail. So this guy would have walked 50 feet, entered the pine plantation, then decide that was it for the day? Bad odds, definitely following me. I quickly exit the trail, and when I'm leaving the parking lot, I see that he's still looking at me. I take the long way home. The experience freaks me out, and I only visited the area once before the second encounter. This time was in January. This time, I want to go bird watching. A week prior, I had seen an owl on the same pine plantation, and I wanted to see it again. I'd seen it about an hour before sundown, so I figured that was a good time to try and see it again in the same area. I checked the parking lot, and there was no blue pickup truck, but there were two other cars with men. One was a red sedan with heavily tinted windows, and it looked like the other one was empty. So I go on the trail again. Today is muddy, wet, and cold. Area should be totally empty. Good. Unfortunately, not so. About 20 feet on the trail, I hear footsteps behind me. I don't like when people walk behind me, but it's not a crime, and I'll lose them as soon as I get to the pine plantation. I'm sure you know where this is going. When I walk on the pine plantation, there's the same rustling of the bushes before, and when I turn around, I see the same man from before. I feel a wave of terror and dread overcome me, alone in a muddy forest with a possible stalker. But it's still so calm, and it feels so mundane. To confirm my fears, I walk over to the area where I saw the owl last week and pause to look for it. Who do I see next time is the same freaking guy from before. I am terrified at this point, and every part of me is screaming, "Run!" So I walk as fast as I can to the trail again. I pass some other random guy in the same pine plantation and smile at him. Just totally an autopilot. He smiles back. It wasn't until I was in the parking lot where I get freaked out that there was a second person in the same pine plantation. Could they have been somehow connected? I stop briefly in the parking lot and take out a small notepad to quickly write down the license plates of the two cars. This gives the original man to catch up to the parking lot. I'm booking it out of the parking lot, and he yells towards me, "Can I give you a ride?" And I just shake my head and keep walking. As I walk away, he begins to follow me in his car. He waits at the intersection to see which direction I'm going in, and I decide to walk into a busy park to lose him. He pulls into a nearby hidden driveway and stares at me. He takes out his phone to presumably take a photo of me. He notes what direction I'm walking in, then does a U-turn and drives fast the other way. Conclusion. I took the long way home and filed out a police report, and the police opened an investigation on it. I have not gone back to the conservation area since, and the experience has definitely left me with an ongoing nervousness about being alone. Doubly more because I do not know who the second guy is. I passed him so quickly, I only know that he was mid-50s and had glasses and was bald. The police, unfortunately, told me there's nothing they can really do at this point. So the best I can do is stay vigilant and try not to let it freak me out too much. Unfortunately, this has totally ruined my love for going out into the wilderness alone. Nothing bad happened, but I think that was more because I was able to escape and lose them before anything did. To the random two almost stalkers, let's not meet. This next story was posted by Reddit user SerenityAngel1990. Okay, so I'm not conventionally pretty, nor classically pretty. I'm the Duffy in the friend group I'm in. I never worried about being hit on, disrespected, or kidnapped. I never had to worry about my own safety when I was going out, as I was never the one anyone wanted to get to know or be around because I am so plain, and it's always me that was on the lookout for my friends, male and female alike. Now, I like to go to the local bar almost daily. I don't drink alcohol there, I just get a normal Coke and wait for my ride home. It's my usual hangout spot after work, so I just sit and chill and mind my own business. Well, a few weeks ago, I had just gotten off work and was chilling at my usual spot, sipping my drink, while working on the new pendant I was making. I didn't think anyone would try to talk to me since I knew I basically blended into the walls, even though the staff know me and pay me slight attention and are nice to me. But this weird guy I'd never seen before came over and sat at my table across from me. I was surprised and looked up at him and struck up a small conversation that I can't even remember how I started. But he started to ask me a few questions about myself that I thought were normal and all flowed together, so I didn't think much of it. I had drank 3 glasses of soda by then and had to use the restroom, so I grabbed my phone and purse and went to the bathroom. I went back a few minutes later and went back to working, since none of my stuff had been touched. I called a waitress over and asked her for a new drink, and she nodded, as it had always been ingrained in me that you never leave your drink unattended, and if you do, have it just remade, or leave it to the bartender. As she was going to grab for my old drink, which had only been a few sips taken out of it, the guy got a bit huffy at me, saying I was being wasteful for just ordering a new drink. I looked at him with a raised eyebrow in confusion. I asked him why it was his business if I did. It was my money after all, and the refills were free. He then said I was making more work for the waitress for no reason. This annoyed me, and told him again that it was my business, and that if he didn't like it, he can always leave. He then tried to wave the waitress off, and letting her change my drink, but I'd had enough of this nonsense and told him flat out, "Then you drink it if you think it's such a waste." It seemed to have caught him off guard, and he looked at me, shocked, then a bit angry before leaving. I then looked at the drink and handed it to the waitress, and told her that something didn't feel right about the guy that I was talking to, and if she could tell the bartender to keep an eye on him and dump out my drink and just bring me water from then on. I left for home after being picked up shortly after, and found out the next day after work that he had been arrested for assault. I didn't find out till today what exactly happened. Apparently, he got into a fight with the bartender working that night. The bartender caught him putting something into a girl's drink when she wasn't looking and had stopped her from drinking it. The guy got mad, and it started a whole fight. The cops were called, and now he's waiting trial. Apparently, he was trying to see if he could get someone like me who always let her guard down for herself because my confidence was low. He thought it'd be an easy mark, with just a little attention. But when I didn't just drink my drink when I came back, he had to try on another girl. If he really was targeting me, I have to question his sanity and sobriety. Thank goodness for those old lessons about safety growing up. Thanks, Mom and Dad, and to the guy at the bar, let's not meet again. Before we get into our final story, if you could comment, like, subscribe, and ring the notification bell for updates on my content, it'd be greatly appreciated. I'm moving late this year, and I really want to get 1,000 subscribers before the end of the year. If you could help me reach that goal, it'd be very appreciated. And remember, this channel is powered by Ulti Energy. If you want a discount on their super high quality products, go ahead and click the link in the description and put in promo code CRIME98 at checkout for a 10% discount. And with that, let's get into our final story. Today's final story was submitted by Reddit user Isolated Destination. This happened many years ago, when I worked on the 14th floor of an office building in San Francisco. I started work at 8 a.m. before the building opened, and the front doors were still locked. I used my fob and walked into the building's first floor, which was nothing but a lobby and 6 elevators. Immediately, I see someone standing there, right in front of the elevators, with a huge jacket on and a hood covering his face. He doesn't look at me, but just keeps staring at the elevators. I was usually the only person in the building that early. My coworker, who also started at 8 a.m., would sometimes arrive the same time as me, but usually I rode the elevator by myself. I press the up button and wait for the elevator to arrive as the person just keeps standing there in front of the furthest elevator from the entrance. Something you need to know is that the elevators are locked until the building is open, so you have to put in a code and each floor has a separate code. For instance, my floor's code is 141414 or something like that, and if you punched it in, it took you to the 14th floor. Also, 5 of the elevators only go to the 10th floor, only elevator 1 goes to floor 11 through 14. So as I wait, I hear the person whispering to himself. He steals a glance at me, then looks forward straight at the elevator again. I'm kind of freaking out at this point, but since you need a key to get in, I still sort of assume he must work there and is just waiting for the elevator. Elevator 6 opens and he walks in. I stay waiting in elevator 1 to get to my floor, but feel instant relief as the doors shut behind him. As I can hear my elevator still traveling down to the lobby, I realize his hasn't started moving up. Instantly, I realize that he doesn't work there, as he clearly doesn't know how to use the code to get it to move. The doors to elevator 1 finally open and I rush in and start punching in the code. Right as the doors are about to shut, I see a hand grab them and force them open. He gets in and the doors close as the elevator starts going up. He presses the button for floor 5, but it doesn't light up and the elevator just keeps going and passes the 5th floor. He's not looking at me, but kind of just whimpering and grabbing his arm, and keeps reaching into the inside of his jacket. I don't say anything, but just kind of move into the corner as far away from him as possible. He just keeps looking at me, whimpering, and rocking back and forth a little, his hand now just inside his inner jacket pocket, fumbling around. The elevator gets to the 14th floor, and I book out, and he just stays in the elevator. My office had the entire floor, but there was still another locked door to get into our lobby from the elevator. I run towards it with my key in my hand. I start to unlock it when I realize, like a fucking movie scene, the lock won't turn. Our doors were glass, and I see my coworker already standing at his desk inside looking at me, realizing something is not right. I look behind me and see the guy in the elevator is now running full speed at me. His teeth are gritting and he is screaming and growling. Things feel like they are in slow motion. I start pounding on the door and somehow my key instantly clicks. The door opens and I slam it behind me as he smashes right into it. My coworker and I called 911, but the worst part was it took them like 20 minutes to arrive. We had to just stand there by the front glass doors and watch the guy who was pacing, putting his face against the glass and licking it and screaming at us. He couldn't leave the lobby because he needed a code to get down, so we just had to watch him until the police arrived and arrested him. Yeah, let's not meet again, please. Thank you so much for watching, everybody. I hope you guys enjoyed this video on exploring another different subreddit. If you guys have a subreddit you want to suggest me reading stories off of, go ahead and leave it in the comments below, and I'll do my best to try and get it in the next video. Again, sorry this was such a delay. Last week was just so much. I know there's not many excuses I can give for it, but trust me, it wasn't going to happen that day. But I'm back in the saddle again. Everything's going fairly normal in my life, and I'm going to try and be more consistent as possible. Work schedule is, going back to normal, so that's good. So definitely expect my videos to be relatively on time from now on. And with that, I'll see you guys in the next video.